AITA for refusing to pay for my coworker's lunch after she accidentally ordered double? I never thought I'd be in a situation where I'd have to defend myself over something as simple as not paying for someone else's food, but here we are. I'm still frustrated and honestly a little confused about how this even turned into an issue. I work in a mid-sized office, and every now and then, a group of us orders takeout together. It's a casual thing, nothing official, just a way to make lunch easier and avoid dealing with separate transactions at pickup. Usually, one person volunteers to grab the food, and everyone Venmos them their share. It's worked fine in the past. No drama, no issues, until Sarah decided to get involved. That day, we decided to order from a small local restaurant a few blocks away. It's one of our go-to spots, and since it was a slow afternoon, I figured I'd be nice and offer to pick up the food. I didn't mind the walk, and I needed a break from staring at my screen anyway. Everyone placed their orders individually through the restaurant's app, and as always, we agreed that I would pay at pickup, and then they'd Venmo me back. Simple, right? Wrong. When I got to the restaurant, I checked the total, and my stomach dropped. It was way higher than I expected. Like, I was expecting something around $50 to $60 for the group. But instead, it was closer to $100. I figured maybe I miscalculated, so I pulled up the receipt. That's when I noticed something weird. Sarah had ordered 2 full meals. Not a small side, not an extra drink, 2 full entrees. At first, I thought it was just a mistake. Maybe she accidentally clicked the wrong button or double-tapped something. No big deal. I just checked with her. So, I texted her real quick. Hey, I think your order got entered twice. There are 2 meals under your name. Her response came almost immediately. Sarah, oops. Just grab both. I'll eat the extra later. Thanks. Okay. Now, at this point, I was standing at the counter, and the restaurant was pretty busy. The cashier was already looking at me, waiting for payment. I didn't want to hold up the line, so I sighed, figured I'd deal with it later, and paid for everything. That was mistake number 1. I walked back to the office, handed out everyone's food, and then went over to Sarah. I set down both of her meals and casually told her total, including the extra meal. She laughed, like full-on laughed, and said, "Oh, I thought you were covering it since you picked it up." Excuse me? What now? I thought she was joking, so I just kind of stared at her for a second. But nope, she wasn't laughing in a haha, I'm messing with you way. It was more of a haha, isn't this funny that you're paying for my food way. So I stayed calm and said, no, we all agreed to pay for our own food. I just picked it up. Sarah shrugged and said, it's just a few bucks. Don't be weird about it. Now, don't get me wrong. I can afford to pay for someone else's lunch. If a friend forgot their wallet or was having a rough day, I'd cover them without a second thought. But this wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't an accident. This felt intentional. She knew she ordered extra food. She waited until I was at the restaurant before telling me. And then she tried to act like it was my responsibility just because I was the one who picked it up. I stood my ground and repeated, you ordered it, so you need to pay for it. Her whole demeanor shifted. She went from laughing to annoyed in a split second. With a dramatic sigh, she pulled out her phone and Venmo'd me the money. No apology. No, thanks for picking it up. Just an eye roll and a sarcastic, wow, okay, whatever. But the real drama started after that. Apparently, Sarah went and told a few of our coworkers that I freaked out over a couple of bucks and embarrassed her by making her pay. Now, I didn't scream at her. I didn't make a scene. I just asked her to pay for the extra food she ordered. But somehow, the story had twisted into me being this stingy, unreasonable person who made a huge deal over nothing. One of my other coworkers, let's call her Lisa, even came up to me and said, you know, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal to just cover it. Excuse me? Since when am I responsible for feeding a grown adult? I asked Lisa, would you have paid for it if you were the one picking up? She hesitated for a second and then said, well, I mean, I probably would have just to keep the peace. And that's when it clicked. Sarah does this on purpose. She counts on people being too uncomfortable to argue, so they just pay for her food to avoid making a scene. Well, not this time. A few days later, another co-worker, let's call her Emily, pulled me aside. Emily, you know Sarah's done this before, right? Turns out, Sarah has a history of accidentally ordering extra food and drinks, and then acting like someone else should pay. At a work happy hour, she ordered extra appetizers and conveniently forgot her wallet. During a coffee run, she added an extra pastry and then told the person picking up that they could just cover it. Last month, she joined another coworker's lunch order and then pretended she didn't know she had to pay them back. Emily told me that some people just let it slide because it wasn't worth the argument. Well, I guess I was the first person to actually call her out on it. Now, Sarah isn't outright hostile to me, but she's definitely cold. She doesn't talk to me unless absolutely necessary, and she stopped joining our lunch orders altogether, which honestly, I consider a win. As for the other coworkers, the ones who initially took her side, well, once they heard from Emily about Sarah's little pattern of behavior, they started changing their tune. A few of them even told me privately that they respected me for standing up to her. So now, I'm just sitting here wondering, why did this ever turn into a thing? How did me refusing to pay for someone else's food turn into me being the bad guy? I still don't think I did anything wrong. But what do you guys think? AITA?